And if you, do you mind muting everybody
Sure.
except us?
Did you get muted too? Sorry.
There, can you guys hear me?
You're good now.
Yeah, okay. So you guys, good morning. I am really excited to see you. If you don't already know, Rich and I were both hired for this coming year to be teachers on special assignment focused on educational technology. Super excited the district is providing this, and I can speak for myself. It's something, you know, I was kind of on the side doing in the spring and doing as best as I could, also having my own class. And so I'm super excited to be able to dedicate my time fully to this year and to support as many of you as I can. I think in general, I'll be focusing on primary and Rich will be focusing on secondary. But we're working together. Like I said in the chat, there's a new district website full of resources, and please know that it's not like as of right now it's a done deal. It's a work in progress, and it's something we're going to be adding to, and I'll show it to you in just a couple minutes. So this week, you know, we have a whole series of workshops, and it's a little tricky because these are optional, and so we don't really want to provide a whole lot that's going to be essential for every single teacher to really have exposure to. So things like Zoom protocols and things like that. If you're looking for those workshops, they're coming. They're just going to be happening on the days when it's required for everyone to be at PD. We needed to choose things during these optional days that are a little bit more basic and not quite so essential, you know, and so it's a little tricky to kind of map that all out. So again, if I said this a little bit earlier, I know there's a wide range of kind of where everybody's at in their own journey with kind of their knowledge of these different tools that we're going to be talking about this week. A lot of what I'm doing, if you came to my workshops in the spring, a lot of it might sound familiar because I'm kind of sharing a lot of what I shared then. I don't think that's the worst thing to watch the same thing twice, because I think every time you're picking up something new and you're a little further along. That said, if you start to realize that if you start to realize that you know everything I'm talking about, which today is going to mostly be Google Drive and Docs, then please feel free to take this time to sit on the side with your own Google Drive tab open and just work on organizing your drive a little bit. If you have a super organized drive, or that's not, like, your brain likes it better the way it is, then maybe spend this time browsing through the Google site that has all kinds of resources on it for you. So I would say that use this time for, you know, wherever you are in your journey, that's going to be the most efficient for you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And again, this presentation is in the chat. So, oops, a link to it is in the chat. And it also shows up here on, on every slide. So you can always copy that. And I'm going to go into present mode. Sorry, you guys. I'm just also coming out of summer haze. So I'm like forgetting how to even use Zoom at the moment. So if you, the link is up here. It's also in our chat. Today is mostly about Google Drive and Google Docs. Somebody asked a little bit ago, where can you find this information later? We're going to be posting all of these slideshows on our website along with the recordings, so you can always watch these again later, or if you have a colleague that missed it and they're asking you, these will live on our website. And we're also, it's not live yet, but we're trying to get a YouTube channel for Edtech so that we can post that there as well. So Just a couple of things. Everybody's muted, but please go ahead and ask questions in the chat. Um, and I have Rich here as my sidekick. He's kind of moderating the chat. So if questions come up and he knows the answer, he might be answering it for you, or he might kind of hold on to them toward the end and then ask them at the very end. We could do a little Q&A kind of thing, and he'll throw out the questions that he's seeing come up in the chat. So please use that as you'd like. Let's see, the other things that I would say, you know, this year is going to be essential is some self-care. Take care of yourself. A lot of this I know feels very overwhelming. It does to me as well. Even with the amount of technology I feel I've built up over the last years, I'm feeling overwhelmed. And so I think it's really important to keep that in mind, be flexible, but also to take care of yourself and set small goals for yourself. This one in particular, this drive thing, a lot of people I know that I've talked to, you know, feel that their drive is this kind of unwieldy place. And so organizing it is overwhelming, but even just starting from here forward, organizing what you now create is going to make a huge difference instead of going backwards and thinking you're going to organize every single thing that's in your drive. Empathize with your students around this struggle. They're feeling it as well. So I think it's really good that we keep that in mind. And again, like I said, everyone here is at a different place with their learning. So really please be patient. And if something feels too basic, there are other things you can use your time to do. Like I said, open a new tab, start to play around organizing your drive, or check out the website. And if it's feeling too advanced, I'm going to show you a slide in just a second of places you can get help. Forget these are going to be posted, so you can always go back and look at the slides one by one more slowly. So we've been working really hard to try to think of what structures are going to be most helpful. And so, so we have quite a few. I don't know when I'm sharing my screen if you guys can see this little box of me. I'm moving it around all over the place. I don't know. We have several things, and on this slide, each of these icons is a direct link. So if you click on any of these, it's going to take you directly to that spot. There's a place on our website called We're in This Together. And if you have an amazingly organized Google Drive, we're going to ask you to go to this page and write your name down, write your site, specify what your expertise is in, so that throughout the year, we can be relying on each other for help. And hopefully we can kind of build this team. We're really thinking that collaboration is going to be so essential this year. And the more we can help each other out, the better. This is our new Edtech resources website. Again, you have the link now in a couple places. I put it in the chat, but it's also, if you just click here, there is a growing number of resources there for you. And I'm just going to show it to you really quick because I don't know, I'm really proud of it. And we've been working really hard. And I just want you to know that these things are here. So this is the homepage, and here's a calendar. And I'm not going to go into everything in a ton of detail, but there's a reach out button and an elementary Slack channel here. And then all your Google Suite resources are here, a page for each one. There are video resources. So if you want to learn more about Zoom and Screencastify and YouTube and all that. In the teacher toolkit, we have lots of things about assessment, but also Flipgrid and Padlet and HyperDocs and Pear Deck. And again, please know that it's a work in progress. Rich and I are learning some of these tools ourselves, and we're trying to stay one step ahead to have some things here for you, but just know that this site will be changing throughout the year. This best practices might be really helpful in the coming days. On this best practices site, we're starting to post digital learning resources. So building community, this is a great webcast that I saw, so I posted that. There's some back to school projects and ideas, HyperDocs and videos. These all come from this group called Edu Protocols with lots and lots of links and ideas to things for getting started in the first week. And we're starting to pin some ideas on games and things you can do on Zoom for building communities. So again, this page will grow, but there are some things here to start poking around and looking at. We have a new page for resources around anti-bias, anti-racist teaching. So if you are interested in some new books, there's some great webcasts I've been watching this summer. These PBS ones are amazing, especially number 4, focusing on young learners, was really, really good. And then we have lots of ideas for books. There's reading lists, and this one even has read alouds that you can click on. And then curriculum ideas, if you're looking to add in new sources and things, there's all kinds of ideas here. People you should know about, I have a big library and a social justice word wall you can pull some vocabulary from, and then lots and lots of people to follow who are the experts in this, both on Instagram, YouTube, websites, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. And then I know I'm talking really fast, but this isn't about the website, it's about Google Docs and Drive. But I do just want you to know this is here. We're starting to kind of roll all this out. This page, the sharing library, these are all templates. So when you click on any of these, if you want to, get a template of a weekly schedule, it's going to take you to a page and force you to make your own copy. That copy is now yours. It will live in your Drive, and you can do whatever you'd like with that copy. The template that lives here, it's going to make everybody make their own copy. So there's all kinds of templates for group work, for student projects. So poke around and see there's some really cool, pixel art and journal writing templates and all kinds of things. So we're adding to this as we go as well. I just wanted you all to know. Again, if my presentation today doesn't suit your needs, that might be a place you spend your time today, is on the website. Rich and I have a reach out, kind of like a ticket system. So if you have questions for us, I know email is normally the way to go, but it's going to start to really help us organize how we can get back to you as quickly as possible if you can reach out through our form. So it's a Google form that asks you what your question is. It also is a great place to throw a tip or an idea if you have something that you'd love for us to post on that website, or something to share out, or a question about future PD, or something you'd like more training on. That's a great place to get in touch with us. And then for elementary, we started this last spring, and it wasn't super active. I'm hoping it becomes more active this year, but we have a Slack channel divided up by grade level and specialty area, so people can just chat and ask for help there as well, or offer help. So that's kind of the basics. And Rich, I'm going to assume that everything's going smoothly unless I see a text pop in from you that tells me otherwise. So I'm just going to keep plowing ahead. So if you're still with me, just a quick note about kind of the difference between Chrome, Drive, and Docs. And this is kind of your starting point. Chrome is your web browser. Some people use, I don't even know, because I've been using Chrome for so long. Some people use, I don't know, other browsers. And so because we're using so many Google apps, I really recommend switching over to Chrome if you haven't already. It just works really well with all of the different tools that we use on Chrome. Drive is your application that stores all your files, and Docs is your creation tool. I know some people open up their Google Docs. Drive is gonna house all of your Google creations, including slideshows and websites and spreadsheets and forms and all of that. So Drive really is like my massive filing cabinet. So speaking of filing cabinet, so when I think of organizing my Google Drive to be able to find things, I like to think of it as a giant filing cabinet. So you can access these files and folders anytime, anywhere from any device, as long as you have internet. And I like to think of my Google Drive as how I would organize a filing cabinet. So, and again, the tricky thing about this is that everybody organizes their files differently, or doesn't organize their files at all. And so everyone's kind of brain and processing how you can best access your information is going to be based on, how you categorize things in your own mind, what path makes the most logical sense to you to find the things that you need. Maybe you have one drawer that's all your language arts, if you're primary. Maybe you have one drawer that's all concerts if you're a high school music teacher, right? So it really depends on how you want to break things apart. And I would kind of start, if you're just starting to organize your Google Drive, or you're thinking about reorganizing it heading into distance learning, is to think about those categories in your mind of how you can best place things in folders that help you find them the most easily. So let's see. When you want to get to your drive, you can go to I call it the waffle, but it's the 9 dots, and you can find your drive there, or you can always go to drive.google.com. My drive is bookmarked, and it's in my bookmark bar, so that it's always really easy to find. When you go to your drive, the top one you're going to see is your own drive, and that's going to be everything that you've created, you've added, you've uploaded is going to go into your drive. That's versus things that other people have shared with you. So if I'm sharing a doc that I create with my colleagues and I email it to them, when they open their drive, they're going to find that, unless they've moved it, they're going to find that under the shared with me category. You can't delete things in shared with me, which kind of bugs me because I'm a delete queen and like to clean things up. But those just live there always. So it's really great to start thinking about, when people have shared things with you, move them into your own drive. File them in your own folders, so that you don't even really have to look in that shared with me mess, because you've already moved it to your own drive, and then you can access it from your own folders. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. There's a difference between making a copy of something that someone shares with you and just adding it to your drive. And there's a really big difference. So if you go to the file menu and you make a copy of something that someone has shared with you, it's now your own separate copy. You own it, you can edit it. It is your new very own version of that. Similar to what I showed you when I went to that templates page on the website. So and I'll talk a little bit about that later, about forcing people to make a copy. If I'm the creator of a document and I share it with someone, I can make somebody else make a copy instead of giving them access. And that's just like the most magical trick in the world. It's a life changer, because you, first of all, won't have people editing your document. And also you won't be getting all these email requests for people to gain access or to a file that you have not given them access to edit. So I'll show you the trick for forcing a copy a little bit later. But when you make a copy, you now own that version. So if I have a document that I've created and I want to collaborate with my colleagues, then we want to share the same document, and we can all make changes on it. But if I create something that I'm going to use with my class, and I want my colleague to be able to use it with their class with their own changes to it, then they should make their own copy, if that makes sense. And down here, I just made a note that now when I have my own copy, if I make changes, that's not going to sync anymore with the thing that was shared with me in the first place. If you just add a file to your drive from an email, or you drop it into your drive and you don't own that file, you didn't make a copy, you're not a collaborator, then that file still belongs, even though it's in your drive now, that file still belongs to your colleague. And any changes you make are going to sync. If you have editing privileges, those changes are going to sync with the original owners. If the owner deletes that file, it's also going to delete from your drive into your drive. So this make a copy for yourself is a really, really good tool. Repeat it, and that is how you can directly add to your drive from your email. So when I get an email,
What happened?
I'm gonna go ahead and contact Jen to make sure maybe she got booted off. Hold on, we'll be right back.
Oops, I was on mute.
So Jen got kicked off of our call, and I think she's trying to log back on. So hang in there for a minute, enjoy a cup of coffee, and she should be back momentarily. Sorry. Now, this is a great example of when you guys are teaching that stuff like this happens. Don't panic. Like, things are going to go wrong when you are teaching. Like, my advice for that is never try to like fight the fire in the moment. Don't panic. Just relax with it. I've told my students like things are going to go wrong and we're going to roll with it, and don't panic because it's, you know, with technology, it's always going to be the case. So stay calm. Let me find Jen.
hello,
You're back.
I'm back. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. That was weird. So we're recording the whole this is all for everyone to see, and I was back in before you could hear me. So I think what Rich was saying about it happens, right? So you just have to kind of roll with it, and the more you can kind of train your students about that, the better. So thanks for sticking with me. I'm gonna screen share again, and let's see if we can get back. I don't know, Rich, where did I drop off? Was I what was I talking about?
I think you were on the copy screen.
I was on the copy screen.
Copying files.
So let's see. Here, make a copy.
Go to the next one real quick. Let me see.
This one
Oh no, keep going.
and this one. I think I'm gonna go ahead and start here because I think I talked enough about making a copy, and you send questions if you have questions about that, but I'm just gonna keep on going. I was, I think, talking about, and I don't know what you heard, but about making a copy from an email, about organizing something that someone shares with you from your email. So if I'm repeating myself and I already said this, I apologize. Maybe I was just talking to myself there for a while. But at the bottom of an email where it shares the presentation or document or whatever it is that your colleague has shared with you, there's a little icon of your drive. And if you click on that little icon that's circled here in red, it's going to open up for you a little button that says added to my drive. Just by clicking on it, it's in your drive now. All I have to do, if that's all I want to do, I can click on this button and walk away from that email, and that thing is now in my drive. However, that gives me heart palpitations because it's just now a loose piece of paper in your drive. And you can start to take things one step further and make me so, so happy and organize it then, right? Because it's going to be so much easier to find. So if I click this and walk away, I'm going to now get this, you can see the drive icon is now in color, and that shows you that it lives in your drive now. But you're also going to get this little pop-up button, and you might ignore it and walk away, and that's fine. Just don't tell me you're doing that, because it's going to offer you the opportunity to organize it. So now if you click on organize, your folders that you've created are going to pop up if you've created them. And if you haven't yet created folders, it's going to give you an opportunity to add a new folder right now. So it's super, super easy to just start from all these emails that you're getting from your colleagues where you're sharing things to from your email. You don't even need to go to your Google Drive at all. Your Google Drive could be totally closed. But from that email, you can place that document, that spreadsheet, that drawing, that presentation into a folder that you are now starting to organize on your drive. So that's exciting. So when you have this attachment, again, I like to think of everything that's shared with me as a piece of paper, a loose piece of paper in my drive. And some of you, I've been with you, so I know this happens. Everything is just this giant, giant, giant list of files. And those, to me, in my mind, are loose pieces of paper. So if you are doing this straight from your email, once this is what I showed you on the last time, you can click on organize and you're going to get a list of folders that you've created. You can either move it into, by clicking on a particular folder, you can move it into that folder, or if you don't have a folder for that piece of loose paper, then you can create a new folder right there. And again, this is all happening from within your email. So you can start to put things where they belong. You can also add to your drive from a document. So let's say my colleague has shared with me this family history scrapbook presentation, and I've opened it. It's now open as a Google presentation, Google slideshow on my computer. Next to the title of that document or whatever it is, you're going to see this little arrow and a folder. The exact same thing's going to happen when I click on that folder. It's now going to give me right there within the presentation my list of folders, and I can choose and add it to a certain place. So Google's making it really easy for us in some pretty quick steps to organize things. Another really quick tip for you, if you're starting to try to think in a more organized way, if you create a document, once you've already opened a folder, it will automatically save into that folder. So if I'm in my drive and I just go to my general drive and I click new and I create a document, that document isn't yet filed or organized anywhere. But let's say I want to create a new document that I'm going to use with my buddies. If I go to my drive and open the buddy folder so that my buddy folder is kind of showing on that left-hand side, and then I click new, that document is already embedded into that buddy file. So you're saving yourself, you're doing a step kind of at the beginning by opening that file instead of doing that step later. So I hope that makes sense, and you can take some time to kind of play around with your drive and see. And again, I know that for some people, This sounds really overwhelming if you've never, ever, ever put one of your documents into a folder. You have an unwieldy, overwhelming list of documents that are just loose. My recommendation is to start small. Don't think that between now and August 25th, you're going to get every single thing. Some of you might get every single thing organized into beautiful folders. However, I'm not sure that's the best use of your time in this moment, unless you're staying up like 24 hours a day. So my recommendation is to start small. Start to organize things as you create them or as they're shared with you. And then over time, as you open documents, just remember that you can, once you open it, use this little folder at the top to put it now in its folder and in its right place. What I think a lot of you will notice is that you have a ton in your drive that you just don't use anymore. And if you start to just file the things that you actually access and use, then you're kind of culling your resources and you're realizing, okay, I have all these documents now in my drive that are old, that I don't use. And eventually at some point you might look through the things that are not filed. And just like we look through our bookshelves and our cabinets and get rid of resources that maybe we haven't touched in 10 years, you might start to delete those files if you realize they don't really have a place in your active drive. So that's one kind of approach. And then just really commit to yourself, if this feels like it's a tool that's helpful for you, commit to organizing things as you move forward. When you do things like I'm saying down here, one file at a time, it's not so overwhelming, and you really start to kind of get this filing cabinet for yourself within your drive. If you're sitting there looking at this huge list of documents, even just trying to decide what categories you want can be really overwhelming. So that's another thing to think about. Some more tips for organizing your drive: you can create folders and subfolders and subfolders. Taught a fourth, and a folder for fifth, and then I had math and social studies, subfolders within those folders, and then even within social studies I might have Gold Rush and immigration and all kinds of things within those folders. So you can really start to place things in as many subfolders deep as you need to go. You can change the color of your folders, which I can show you how to do. And so that can be helpful as well, especially doing a combo. I color-coded things so that if I was looking at fourth, it was one color, and fifth, it was another. You might have everything one color, except the folders that you access the most might be a brighter color or a different color to really jump out at you. So that's another thing that can be helpful. Name your files and your folders really carefully, especially because we're going to talk a little bit about searching for things. The more specific you are when you name things, the easier it's going to be for you to find them when you're searching for them. You can share entire folders with people, not just individual files. So then whoever you've shared that folder with, just like you'd share a document, the people you've shared that folder with can access anything in that folder right away, even if you haven't specifically shared a doc. So for example, Rich and I have a TSA folder that we're now sharing on our drive. One of us created it, shared it with the other one. And when I create a document now within that Edtech TSA folder, Rich can see it, even if I haven't remembered to share that doc with him. This is really, really helpful at grade levels or within departments. If you want those folders to be shared, the files inside them to be shared. You can also set the folder to view only or to edit, so that you aren't just giving people free reign of editing all your documents. You can give somebody else the right to just view the things that are in there. We're gonna talk more about sharing settings. Those are really important. I'm sure you've come across that, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. Again, this is going back to that idea of making a copy. Really rely on that file and then make a copy to create your own version. And then, or you can drag things from that shared with me part of your drive into your own drive, just remember that then any changes you make are going to sync with the original owner, and the original owner can delete it. Down at the bottom, I think I was just saying this, purge old files, things that you haven't used. It's unlikely that you will. So it's hard to let go of stuff. I know that we kind of hoard as teachers, but if you haven't opened a document in 5 years, then I think it's probably unlikely that you're going to moving forward, especially with so many changes in what is available to us and our knowledge and our kind of philosophy around online teaching and all that stuff. There's just so much new stuff coming out that, if it's not filed at some point soon, then you might want to purge it. So this is a little bit about how you can search for things once you have something in your drive, whether you've filed it somewhere in an organized way or not. You can search your drive by a file type. So if you know someone gave you a great spreadsheet, you can weed out your search by just the spreadsheets or by just the PDFs or whatever it is. You can search by name. So if you know that a particular colleague shared something with you, I use this feature all the time, especially for things that I know someone in my grade level shared with me, or maybe it was something that came from my administrator, and I want to locate that. Even if it's within the shared with me drive, then I can search there for what that person shared with me. You can obviously search by a keyword, and I find the recent tab really, really helpful when I'm working on my drive, because if I open something yesterday, if I click on recent, then Google kind of keeps your most recent activity kind of right there at the top. And so instead of doing a search for something, I'll just click because I'll know that I was on it recently. You can also star things in Drive, just like in email. And so then you can search starred items so that you can get back to them quickly. Lots of people, I think, have come across the issue of being somebody who lived mostly in Microsoft Word. And so uploading your files that you've created previously on Microsoft Word, you can upload those files and create a copy as a file in your Google Drive. You can upload Word, Excel, PDF. And when you go to new on your drive, one of your choices is to upload a file. And so you can just choose your old files from your computer, and those can be uploaded into your Google Drive. Some files can then be converted and turned into Google file types. So you can turn a Word doc into a Google Doc, you can turn Excel into a sheet, and you can turn a PowerPoint into a Google presentation, a Google slideshow. Some of the benefits of that are just really to be able to now make changes in Drive and to be able to edit and share with others and collaborate with others. But you can also just upload them as is, and you can just have them in there as a copy that now lives on your Drive. So instead of being in a separate folder on your desktop or in your computer, you can put them in your drive as well. So everything now is in one place. You're not looking in two different places. And I did link a video here about converting your files. If you're interested in that, you can definitely use that. Let's see. I don't even remember what this slide is about, but I like to create a new doc for my Google Drive because I can organize it from the very beginning. So instead of going to docs.google.com, I always start right here with my new whatever I'm creating within my drive, because then I can organize it right away. But you can always go to, just go to docs.google.com to create a new doc, or slides.google.com to create a new slide. It's just, you're kind of starting a little further down the line. So moving on to talking a little bit about sharing, and I know most people are probably very, very well aware of this, but there's 3 different settings and I think that Google has kind of changed the sharing, like the way it looks when you go to share, but they're still basically the same thing. They have a viewer, somebody who can view your document. That's when I want you to be able to see it but not make any changes to it. This is also how you'll want to set any documents that you share with families or that you post on your website for people to take a look at. They can view it, but they can't change it. You can set it so that people can make comments. So for example, if I'm making this slideshow and I want to share it with Rich and get his feedback so that I can make changes to it, I might set the permission that Rich can comment on my slideshow so that he can, give me some feedback. And that would mean that that person can't make those changes themselves, but they can suggest those changes, and then I can go in and say, yeah, I like that one, or no, I don't like that one, and dismiss those comments or resolve those comments. And then the last one being that somebody else can edit your document. And so if you're collaborating, you want others to be able to add and modify it and adjust your work, then you can let someone edit your document. Google has us in a can view is kind of the default, which is great because I think 90% of the time that's how I want to share my docs. And so, but it is a good thing to check when you share something. The other thing is that I think it defaults to people in AUSD can view it. So your colleagues might be able to see it, but if it's something you're sharing out to families or to friends that teach outside of Albany or whoever that is, your partner, and you want feedback, you'd have to change it to be anyone with the link can view it, not just people at AUSD. So that is kind of my spiel on Drive, and we can definitely talk a little bit about that. I'm trying to keep an eye on the time. At the end, I'll try to finish up, with a little bit of time for questions. But I wanted to switch gears and talk a little bit about docs in particular. We're going to be doing presentations on slides and forms later this week. So I wanted to focus a little bit on docs themselves. And so I'm just sharing, I think 7 or 8 just little tips about docs. The first one I've said over and over, and I put it in here again because I feel it's so important and such a great tool, and that's to make a copy. And that just lives under the file menu where you go down to make a copy, and then it's going to ask you to rename it, and you can give it your own name, and it's going to ask you where you want to keep that in your own drive. So so we can make making a copy is really, really important. The second tip is to force the copy, and this is my favorite magical tool, and I embedded a video that you can watch on your own. You have the link to this slideshow, and it teaches you how to force people to make a copy. Basically what you do is you go to the URL or the address of your document, and you're going to notice that there's a backslash kind of toward the end of the very long Google URL address. And there's going to be a backslash and the word edit, and then a whole bunch of numbers and letters. If you delete everything from that backslash on, from the word edit, get rid of all of that and write the word copy, and then you share that new URL with the /copy at the end, and I send that to someone, when they click on that link, now it's going to force them to make a copy. So again, if that made sense to you, great. If it didn't, this video will describe to you how to do that and show you how to do that. And that's a really, really great magic tool that you can use. You can also force someone, I just learned, to create a template link. So if you want to create a template that someone else is going to use, and I have to be honest, I just learned about this, and so I haven't really wrapped my head around when I might want to force someone to make a copy and when I might want to create a template. But anyway, for anyone interested, you can create a template so that when somebody clicks on your link, there's going to be a little blue button up in the corner that says use template, and it's basically going to have them make their own copy. So I don't quite know the difference between the two, but I thought it was cool, and it was something I wanted to share since I just learned it. So you can check that out as well. Voice typing is a great option, especially when we're spending so much time at our computers right now. So there's a voice typing option, and it's a great one to teach your students about too, especially around accessibility and different accommodations for students. So right under the tools menu in your docs, there's a voice typing, and you really just have to kind of, check your microphone, make sure your microphone is working, and then a little microphone box will appear, and you click it and you start talking, and it'll type what you're saying, and then click it again when you're done. Oops, I wrote microphone. Oops. And then you can edit, any changes that you need to make, but that's a great tool to know about. There's a video here I included about citing your sources, especially if you're working with, older students, but even, those 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders should know the basics of how to cite a source that they use. Kind of sharing resources and digital citizenship and giving credit to the images and all the things we're using are definitely things that we should be focusing on when we're online so much. So you can cite your sources very easily with a tool within Docs. And so I posted a little video here about how to do that. So you can feel free to learn about the citation tool there. You can insert GIFs or GIFs, I don't know, I hear people say it different ways, into your doc. It's a fun way to make your doc more engaging. And so here is a little video about how to do that if you're interested. And I put quotes, important tip, because I don't know that these things are, they're not this isn't the most important of them all, but it's kind of a fun one. And then editing images within your docs. This is a great little video that shows you a bunch of different ways that you can edit your image straight from within your document itself. So if you grab an image from your computer, or you grab an image from the web, you can resize it, you can recolor it, you can see here on the side, you can add a border to it. And it just really talks you through all the different things you can do with that image. And again, I didn't really go into this, and he doesn't either, but if you go under insert, the insert button right here, then you can easily either insert a photo or a video or anything like that to get your photo in there. There's some Drive and Docs help pages here, links to, that should say Docs, not Drive on this side, but it's the Help Center. Google Education has a lot of really great resources, and we link to those on our website. I'm going to go back to this and stop sharing my screen, because that's my whole presentation. And again, you have the link to that presentation is in our chat, and it also is posted on our website under the Google Suite section on Drive and Docs, so that you can access those slides anytime, those videos anytime, and we'll post this talk, including my getting booted off, for you to review at your own leisure later on. So I don't know, that was a lot, and I hope that there was something in there that was helpful for you, something new, or just a little reminder as you're headed into the new year about I just really think that a big part of what we're facing is how to do this efficiently and how to do this without feeling so overwhelmed, because I know that is the number one feeling, for me at least, is overwhelm, and kind of this just feeling like it's almost like a fire hose of things I have to do and things I have to learn. And so I'm hoping that some of these tips can help make things feel a little bit more manageable and a little more efficient, as you're moving on. So, Rich, do you want to throw questions my way, or
Sure.
how do you want to do?
Sure,
Yeah.
I have no questions your way. But before I do that, I'm going to plug my 10:30 workshop.
Oh, yeah.
Screencasting. So if you don't know what screencasting is, there's synchronous learning where you're on Zoom or Google Meet and you're interacting with them directly. What screencasting is you're recording a video and of your screen and yourself, or just of yourself, and then letting students watch on their own time. That'd be asynchronous because they're learning, but without you being live with them. So it should be very useful because I don't think everything we're doing should be synchronous. This gives you some flexibility and the resource that I think is very powerful for students. So come back at 10:30 for that one. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of these questions. We've got 5 questions. If you have more, you can let me know. So first question, does moving something that is shared with you affect how other people access it? And so I guess we can both, Jen, if you want to jump on that first.
Yeah. Well, moving something that is shared with you basically won't impact how everyone kind of has to manage their own files. So if I share a file with my 3 other 5th grade colleagues, that document's going to live in everyone's shared with me spot until each person moves it somewhere else. So, and then so it won't impact where other people find it. Everyone has to kind of deal with that on their own. And the privacy settings are really up to the owner of the document, the person that shared it with you. And so that person is changing any privacy settings. The only thing that then would be different around that piece is if you make a copy of it, move it into your own drive, and you're now the owner of this new document. Your copy and the original shared file are now 2 totally separate things. So I hope that answers that question. And Rich, if you have anything else or want to chime in on that.
Yeah, so if I have something in a folder and I share it with somebody else, where you store it has no effect on where it's stored in my own organizational system. And so you don't need to worry about that being compromised when you move something that shares. So when you put into your Google Drive something that somebody shared with you. Okay. Second question, sometimes when I type in part of a title in the search box, so this person's trying to look for a file, that document doesn't come up.
Sorry, can you say that one more time? I was sharing someone asked for the website and I was re-sharing it in the chat. Sorry.
So they're saying that sometimes when they type in part of a title in the search box to look for a file, that the document does not show up.
Yeah. So, I'm not exactly, I think that can be different in different situations. I think maybe sometimes there's lots of things that have similar words. Usually I'll type as much of that thing as I can find or as I can remember and hit return instead of just waiting for things to pop up in a list that I see. I actually hit the return button so that I get like a full list. And sometimes that thing I'm looking for is farther down the search results. I also then will, if I can't find it based on the title, I'll search it based on the person that shared it with me, or you can search by date and things like that too. So those are my suggestions, are to actually hit return so that a full list comes up for you, and then also to search by the creator of the document. Those are what I would try first. I don't know, Rich, if you have any other suggestions.
I want to say this in general, though. Whenever you run into a roadblock, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't get this done. I'll just kind of settle for it. That's the way it has to be. I always suggest Google it, because you'll be surprised at the solutions that are out there, whether it be on video or in text form, that will lead you to something that you may not know have existed or that you can do. So instead of settling, your wishes might actually come true if you just click Google, or you Google whatever your question or issue is. Google it, because it's most likely going to be out there somewhere.
Yeah, and in that situation, I mean, literally, I would type in, why is my file not coming up in my Google search? Like, I would type in that whole question and see what kind of results I get. Yeah.
Okay, next question. Can you share the titles of the folders that you've created? So I'll let you think about it. I'm gonna give you mine first. So I have a file for so I want to minimize my number of main files, and then I'll have subfolders within those folders. So you might have one for like tests, and you might then underneath have that, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 embedded within that main file. I have one for templates, and so it's different templates I've created, like letterheads or email templates. In fact, here's another little tip shortcut for you. I've made a stockpile of stock email responses, because oftentimes parents write you these emails and then you spend another 15 minutes responding to an email that you already answered. And so I've got this huge Google Doc that has maybe 50 different types of emails with titles. So for example, what is
And
how to reply? And so I literally have an email for when the student cheats. So next time that happens, I pull that up and I can paste it in, and it saves me a bunch of time. So that's my.
And Rich, following up on that, you can actually create those templates within your email so that you can choose that template straight from within your Gmail. You don't have to even go into a doc to copy and paste it. So that might be another little quick PD we do at some point down the line, like on a day when we can do like quick little things, but those templates can be right within your email as well.
I also have one for what I labeled it as time specific. So for example, there's some stuff I want to access at the end of the year, like, end of year placements or end of year celebration folder, but I don't want to have to, when I open my Google folder, to see that file every single time. So within my time specific, I'll have, back to school night, open house, and different folders within the time specific folder, so that when I need to access those once a month or once every 3 months or just beginning or end of the year, I don't have to see those folders all the time. I have a folder for student stuff. And so like RSP, IEP stuff, when you're writing recommendations for students, when you have to write evaluations, I have a folder just for like what I label as student stuff. I have a folder for AMS, so anything that's school related that's not directly to my curriculum, I stick it in that folder. So those are just some of how I organize it. Jen, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, I could share my screen with you again, and I think maybe you saw at the front of my presentation, one group of kids told me that on my gravestone, it should say, "Here lies Miss Gritman, who has a really organized Google Drive." But I see these things down at the bottom are not filed right now, but that's all I have that's not in a folder, is like less than 10 things that aren't in a folder. And so mine was really around 4th and 5th grade curriculum. And so if I opened 4th, then in 4th I had art, math, miscellaneous reading, and I had same for 5th grade. I have one for anti-bias, anti-racist resources, buddies, classroom organization, communication. Google Classroom, if you use Google Classroom, it'll automatically create a folder. That just happens automatically when you start a new site. And that's really cool. And we'll talk about that tomorrow when we're talking about Google Classroom if you come, but it's going to create a folder for every single assignment that you do and organize it all for you. And then I have technology, social, emotional. I did everything in the spring in one folder called school closure. And so I kind of started a whole new like mini drive within my drive for everything I did when we went home in March. And so everything that I did there is there. So that's kind of, those are my folders. Communication is forms and things I send my families, my contact lists, website addresses, things like that. And then classroom organization is kind of for me like almost a little bit like miscellaneous. That's where I have field trips, and like Rich said, he has time sensitive. That's where I have things for the first few weeks and the last few weeks, and you can see I made them a different color. A drive kind of just like your teaching is like kind of a work in progress, where you might rearrange your folders based on, how your brain is starting to, think about categorizing the different things that you're doing. And it kind of builds over time, I think. Yeah.
Like jump to the next question in a second, but there's something weird about the Zoom chat is that it won't let you copy and paste out of the chat. So people have said, and I've experienced this too, people, for example, try to copy the link. I mean, if it's a live link, so that should be fine, but you can't copy and paste the text that's in the chat screen. Next question, are you going to address the ways that Google Classroom automatically creates files, organize, and assigns permissions to files, or wait until Google Classroom? It is quite opaque and has created some weird situations for me in organization, and sometimes stuff like allowing students to see each other's works. And so what they're referring to is oftentimes within Google, when you make a Google Classroom assignment, or even when you do Google Forms, they create files and folders for you, like housing the student work. And that can get a little messy and disorganized because it creates it by yourself. So Jen, you want to tackle that a little bit? You'll probably want to cover it during Google Classroom as well.
Yeah. I haven't had huge issues around that in terms of, I haven't really given kids a lot of permission to see each other's work from just within Google Classroom folders. That's an interesting one to think about, and it's definitely something I think we could talk about more tomorrow. I've used the folders that Google Classroom creates for my own kind of grading purposes, but I actually do most of my interaction with the students' work from within Google Classroom, not from within the folders on Drive. So, and I think that's going to vary greatly for, what class you're teaching and what grade level you're teaching, and what you want to be able to do with the student work. So let's maybe talk about that one tomorrow a little bit more when we're really focusing on classroom, but I think it's a great question.
Okay. Next one, how do you search by file type and keyword? So we want to, let's say you find a sheet that has this name, so having both those criteria in there.
Yeah, I would have to play around with it to see. I think there's kind of, there's your basic search, but I think there's more of an advanced search where you can choose different criteria. So within your Drive, I think looking for that advanced search, and then you'd be able to choose both of those criteria for searching.
So I will say that I'm writing all these down, and we don't have actually every answer, most of them. But we will try to research it and get answers in a place that's housed on our website, because these are questions that we all face.
And that's also one that might be a really good one to look up in that Google Docs or Drive Help Center. The Google Education Help Center is like an amazing place with, little videos on all kinds of things. So, yeah.
Okay. Next question. Can you explain why you would force copy to someone to make a copy if you just want them to view the doc?
So I would only do that if it's something that I think people are going to want to edit, right? If I'm sharing it with people that I don't think maybe have as much knowledge around making a copy for themselves, right? So, if I'm sending it to my team and I'm really confident that my team knows how to make their own copy by going to File and Make a Copy, I don't think I would force them to make a copy. I'd let them kind of deal with that on their own end. But if I'm sending this out to a whole lot of people, or to a group of people that doesn't have a whole lot of experience using Google Docs, then I might force them to make a copy, just because if they don't know how to make their own copy, then they're going to ask me if they can edit mine, and I'm going to have to kind of keep explaining to people over and over, and no, you need to make your own copy. The templates, that I put on that sharing page, just because of the sheer number of people that they're going out to, then I think that it limits that kind of confusion around what do I do with this now that I have a viewable version myself. And so it's a time-saving tip for the person that's managing that document. It's just kind of forcing everybody to kind of go there on their own.
Okay. I will also say that, the situation where one way to avoid the situation is whenever you share something, you give them only viewer status and not editor status, because you share a great social studies assignment with somebody and you put them as editor, they decide to make some changes for themselves, it will affect you. So if you use this, either set them as view only, or this forces them to copy it, then it allows you to have more control over it. I love this. I just told you guys to Google stuff, and somebody asked earlier why we can't copy and paste out of the chat window. Somebody already Googled it and said there might be some settings that I can do to fix that. So we will see. Next question. How can you change the owner of a file?
So that is, once you share it with someone, when you go back into that share screen, so I can just show you really quickly, if I have a document, and here's, questions that people have asked so far on our help button. But if I go into this sharing, once it loads, I have the slowest internet, so things happen really, really slowly. But if I go to this share button now, and sorry, you guys, this is the story of my life. Once it comes up who has access to this, right now I'm the owner and Rich is an editor. But if I want him to become the owner, I can click here. And down here it says make the owner. So you can change down here who's the owner of that file. And that just comes up as one of your options. You can also give temporary access, and you can remove someone, as if I want to boot Rich from this file, I can remove his access right there if I want to. So yeah, good question. I've done that a couple times in the last even week, is made someone else the owner of a document.
Okay. Next question. Where will recording of these videos be housed? And so
yeah, yeah, I think I answered that one privately, but for anyone else that's wondering, we're gonna be putting the slideshow and the video on the website. And again, I just wanna share that website with you. Someone else asked, I think, if we could go over the website again, and I'll just quickly share the website with you. So this is our new Edtech resources website. It's a thing of beauty. And I hope you find things in here that are helpful for you, and it will continue to evolve and grow as the year goes on. But I think there's a lot here, even right now, to get you started. And you'll notice here that it says Google Suite, and there's a page on Classroom, Docs, Drive, Slides, Forms, etc. So down at the bottom of the Docs and Drive page, there's going to be guided instructions in PD. And you can see that my presentation from this morning is already here. And this is the video from last year that we did on basically the same thing. And I love that I'm frozen there in time in that way, that very attractive look that I have there. And I'll probably delete that one when this new one is ready, but we'll post the video here as well. And then we're also trying to get an Edtech AUSD login so that we can create a YouTube channel that's all the Edtech stuff that we're doing, so that you'll have a YouTube channel that's kind of a library of all the PD from throughout the whole year. And we can make playlists of different things so you can find stuff.
okay. Next question. If I'm searching by who created a file, can I include other criteria in my search so I don't get everything that person ever sent me? So basically, can you search Rich Lou and the name of the file at the same time?
You can, yeah. So if I would just put it in the same search bar, and that I think should work for you. I would try it out, but I feel like I've done that before.
So just put the name of the person, maybe their last name, as well as a keyword within that file.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next question. Any advice on how to manage your drive when you have multiple Google accounts? So let's say you have your personal account and your school account. For example, sometimes I move a doc into a Google account that was not the one I intended.
Yeah, I think that I tend to do that a lot too. And if I'm going to share my screen one more time, I know I keep doing this, but if you don't know this tip, up here, if you're using Chrome, there's a People tab. And if you haven't used this tab up here where it says People, I think you guys can see that. I highly recommend it, because you can really easily switch back and forth between your two accounts and just toggle back and forth. So if I am at work right now and I'm on my I'm on my school Gmail, but if I want to go flip over to my personal, and then my toolbar is different, my, everything's different. So that's just a really easy way to switch back and forth between two different or more Google accounts. Sometimes Ben uses this computer, so he's logged in here as well. But what I do if I, accidentally create a document from the wrong account, or realize that I'm logged in as the other one, usually I just share it to myself. And I then also, so if I make it with my Jen Gritman at Gmail, and I meant to make it with J Gritman AUSD email, I'll just share it with J Gritman and then change the owner to me. And then, but that does mean that that document now will be under shared with me, because the outside of school me shared it with the school side of me. And then I just have to move it into my drive where I want it. So yeah, it's kind of tricky.
I guess earlier when I was sharing my folders, I had said that I had a student section. Somebody wrote, do you have a folder for each student? And I actually don't. Within folders, for example, when a counselor asks me to do an evaluation for an SST, I don't need a folder for everybody. What I do is a folder for each school year. So these are my evaluations for 1920 or 2021. So that would be a little crazy to have a folder for each student. So I don't. Next question, can you speak at all on how Google connects with Seesaw? Seesaw is a platform that many of the younger grades will be using.
Yeah, I have to be honest, I'm just learning Seesaw because I haven't used it before since I was teaching upper grades. And I do know that a lot of the lower grades, K2, are going to be using Seesaw. So I'm just learning about it. And I know that we're going to be offering some trainings on Seesaw. I think Christina Finnegan has used it and has offered to do some trainings on Seesaw. And I know those are coming. I don't know if that's this week or if it's those official PD days, but stay tuned for that. And I have to be honest, I didn't dive in deep enough yet to really be able to answer that question, but it's coming. And I know that there's a lot of people that are looking into that now and learning how to use it. I'm excited about that. It looks really great.
Okay. We've got about 3 minutes. Somebody is asking about the address for our Edtech website, and I'm going to put that up. Well, we'll put that on in just a second. But one thing I want to say, kind of, sort of concluding part of this is that with the mention of Seesaw, you're going to come across a lot of new Edtech apps and programs and stuff. If there's something that you think that is great that you want to share or you want to learn more about, please put in a ticket on our website. That's something that's fodder for thought, and we could always make it a future PD on it if enough people are interested, or we can help you do research, we can help you implement. We're going to put the link on here. I think it's bit.ly.AUSD Edtech, all caps, Jen?
Are you talking about the website?
Yeah.
It's in here. I can post it again.
I think that's it right there, right? Yeah. Well,
it's in our chat. If you go up just a little bit, there's the website link is here. Okay.
But let me mention something about this bit.ly thing. If you look at my chat for the last thing, bit.ly is something, it's written bit.ly/. What it is it shortens your URL. So I think it's a really useful tool, because if you want to share, let's say, a website with students as part of your lesson, instead of having them typing out the whole thing or copy and pasting the whole thing, a bit.ly will shorten it. So take your super long URL, shorten it, and then it allows you to customize it. So if you look at the one I typed out, is bit.ly.AUSD Edtech, because that's our AUSD Edtech page. That's a tool that I'm sure at some point we're going to teach you how to use, because that's super helpful. But I encourage you to check out the page. Just browse around on it, poke around. There's a search box on there that you can search for things on if you're curious about, Screencastify. Just type in Screencastify in the search box. It'll show you where all those pop up. So, Jen, you have any other?
No, I think that was a lot for a first morning of diving in. So I think maybe we leave it there.
There's a question.
I know that we're going to be trying to roll out the website in a little more formal way, like either through principal newsletters or through Marie sending it out. I'm not sure. So that link should be starting to come at you in a lot of different ways. So.
There's one last question on these staff development sessions. How do you get credit from the district? Have we taken attendance? I'm going to go check in with Marie about this. we'll find out and get back to you. We have not
Yeah.
taken attempts, I will say that. So for this one, it will probably be your word, but I don't know.
There was a little bit of talk about having a Google form where people just, wrote 3 takeaways that they got out of it or something like that, so that kind of was a little bit of accountability, because I think that, even if you couldn't be here right now and you watched it later on your own, that would still count. So I think that we wouldn't want to just take attendance anyway. But yeah, we'll find out. We're not sure.
Okay. Well, take a break and then come back in 15 minutes if you're interested in learning about screencasting, which I think everybody should. So, anything else?
I think that's it, you guys. We'll see you if you're coming back in a little bit, and if not, throughout the week. Thanks for being here.
Okay, bye.